Welcome to NFL Daily, where we always know to knock the ball down at the goal line.
Knock it down.
On a Hail Mary. I'm rolling around here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with Patrick Claybon. Nick Shook joining us from Cleveland. And yes, this is one of those days that as the witching hour hit in the early window of games, Scott Hanson's going nuts. I'm going nuts. There were so many good games that I was like, I don't know what game we could possibly start the show with. And then a game in a moment just presents itself to us.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's so much that we can discuss just on the final play of the game. And for those of you who are finding this out on the podcast.
Okay, let's listen to the call then right off the bat.
Let's do it.
Bears an 8 deep, 4 at the goal line. They bring 3. Daniels backing up. He's just going to have to let one fly. Goes to the right side. Steps away from the defenders. Gives himself some time. Now steps up, fires. Heads towards the end zone. It is...
London Fletcher.
London Fletcher. Hail Mary, hell yes. That was Bram Weinstein. And yeah, London Fletcher. WBIG was talking about our Dodgers here in Los Angeles there. I think I could barely hear it over the screaming and yelling. Some pop. Yes, Jaden Daniels finds Noah Brown after a deflection off a few hands, but Tyreek Stevenson was jumping in there at the end for the Bears, and it goes to Noah Brown and the Washington Commanders in what is turning out to be an absolutely magical year, win 18-15. And when I saw this happen, my first thought was kind of like ball don't lie. There was not a bad call in this game, and yet they were the better team all day. And I was like, oh, the right team kind of won. And it was also the right team because I picked them and Patrick Claybon did
Yes,
not.
And so congratulations to Washington Commanders fans who will celebrate that play in that moment for the rest of your lives. It's because I picked the Bears and stuck with them, which felt like a great picnic. Considering the way that the game was going, where the Bears could do absolutely nothing. Caleb Williams had 4 completions late in the second half, but then DeAndre Swift goes on a 50-plus yard touchdown run. They come out the next drive. They go 9 plays, 84 yards, and then for some reason, unbeknownst to everybody on the planet except for him and a backup offensive lineman, Shane Waldron, calls a play and gives the ball to Doug Kramer, on the 1 yard line. He fumbles and the Commanders recover. Somehow the Bears get back down there. Caleb Williams leads a drive. They take the lead, and then history happens. But just a very odd game with some odd decisions. Either team could have won literally to the final seconds. But Washington, gets the miracle that we'll remember for the rest of our lives.
Did you scream in Cleveland, Nick Shook, when that happened?
Yes, I did. I screamed almost at the top of my lungs while sitting here in my office at my house. Yes, I did. And you're right, Greg. I think you hit the nail right on the head there. It felt like Washington was the better team. And when Chicago scored, I was like, oh, this is a brutal loss for them because they've outplayed them for the majority of this game. And then Jalen drops back and throws the Hail Mary that sends the broadcasters into just shouting, like just undecipherable shouting, pure euphoria in the form of football. That is the beauty of this game. How can you not love this sport in moments like that? And also, it really caps, an interesting week for Jalen. He gets hurt in the previous week, and we're talking about his rib injury all week and whether he'll play, and he's questionable, and then he decides to play. And then even on the broadcast during the game, they're talking about how, well, that rib, I don't know if he's got it in him to make that throw. Let's get the ball near the 50-yard line, at least give us a chance. Well, then he ends up throwing it from the 35, and it manages to get there off of a sea of defenders. That is Hail Mary textbook right there. Offensively, defensively, you forgot to leave a guy behind there, Bears. And the Commanders' magical season continues.
Okay, I'm sick of these teams not sending extra rushers on these Hail Marys. I just think it's better. And Bears fans and people in my mention say, well, he got the extra time because there was a hold. Like, yeah, there was a hold towards the end of the play. It wasn't the worst hold I've ever seen. calm down about that being the difference between winning and losing. He held on to the ball for almost 13 seconds. It was the first touchdown pass, according to Next Gen Stats, that has been held for over 10 seconds, like in their entire era of keeping track. And I give Jaden Daniels some credit, obviously, for this. Not just that it was a great throw because he got the arc on it, but all that time that he bought got his receivers ready for it and got him in a position where he could really run up and do it. Because there was a moment a little earlier in that play, probably after he held the ball about 6 or 7 seconds, where he thought he was going to throw it, but he didn't. He decided to hold on, run around a little more. That takes some supreme confidence. And yes, it takes a little bit of luck on a day where he just was so athletic. You said we could talk a lot about just that play alone. What do you want to talk about that play?
Well, ultimately, which film review is going to show a lot before the play, Tyreek Stevenson is over on the numbers talking to the Commanders sideline and fans and being very demonstrative. And then the ball is snapped. He wheels around. He ultimately cuts in front of Noah Brown. It's his tip that goes to Noah Brown seconds after taunting the sideline and the fans. But ultimately, because we saw it on the Rodgers Hail Mary where the Bills are rushing to, the decision to like have kind of like a spy / pass rush where you don't necessarily know how this is going. It's just a calamity of errors for the Bears, where in a game that they had won, like despite their best efforts and the fumble on the goal line, the Bears had this game won multiple times.
Right, and it hurt so much because this game felt like it meant a lot to the Bears, certainly to Caleb Williams, the 2 draft picks. I thought Caleb was a little scattershot in the game. The offensive line for the Bears did not play well, pass protecting. They had a couple injuries, and by the end, it's just a mass unit out there. Caleb finishes 10 for 24 for 131, but they get the touchdown on the end, and on that final drive, he had some crucial passes. A great throw earlier in the quarter to DJ Moore, where DJ Moore got blasted. I guess that was the one they didn't end up scoring the touchdown. But the play to Keenan Allen that he improvises was a great play. Some important throws to Adunze, who ends up with 3 for 41. And when they hit that touchdown, Roshan Johnson, 1-yard run with about 25 seconds left, I just thought, wow, what a big moment in their season. It's such a tough race in the NFC North, Nick. Like the game almost meant more to them, but they left too much time on the clock for Jaden Daniels, and they even did the thing that I wanted teams to do. They actually kicked it short of the goal line, and they wasted a couple seconds on that, and they got better field position. Jaden Daniels' first pass of the drive was incomplete, but he did get one to Zach Ertz, and then McLaurin for 11, then 13 yards to set up the touchdown. So that was good situational football by Washington to eventually get the win, and it hurts because, man, the Bears hadn't given up a touchdown the whole day, which it was a great bend but don't break performance by them, which is what Matt Eberflus's defense is all about. They end up giving up 481 yards on the day, and yet they hadn't given up a touchdown until that last play.
Yeah, pretty much everything had to fall in the right order. I mean, they had to have that one timeout to stop the clock when they got the pass over the middle of Ertz. You had to get the completion to the sideline near the 50-yard line to even set up that throw. But it all comes down to 2 rules that I would like to frame and add to my list that I'm in the future I'm going to hang behind me, which is 1, never rush 3. We've talked about that before. And 2, don't count your score before the ball is in the hole. Talking about Tyreek Stevenson taunting the sideline and then immediately getting football karma shoved right in his face as the ball glances off his hand for the Hail Mary. I mean, look, guys, how often do we get a Hail Mary? Unless it's Aaron Rodgers throwing it, it doesn't happen often. So we really have to appreciate this, not only because of the context of the game, but just because it was an amazing Hail Mary.
Right. And it's a win that puts the Commanders at 6-2. They're in a good division race. The Bears are going to need every last one of these wins, and it felt like they were going to steal one. Let's hear from Dan Quinn on that final play.
I thought Jaden did a fantastic job of, buying time over to the right side. I don't know how long the play was. Maybe you guys might, but it took a long-ass time. 13 seconds, yeah. I felt every bit of them.
Oh, my gosh. Patrick just showed me the vision from a fan's camera of Stevenson. He wasn't just... I imagine it's like well before the snap is happening.
It's during
the play. He is taunting them during the play, and then he whips around and he's like, "Oh my God, the play is happening right now!" And he starts running over. Like that is absolutely amazing by him. I mean, I hate to like make it about the quarterbacks versus each other, but I think it's fair to say Jaden Daniels is playing better than Caleb Williams this season.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels' movement in this game early. I know they didn't have touchdowns, but he ends up with 326 yards through the air, 52 on the ground. And some of the first downs, Patrick, that he scrambled for, it just took my breath away. The lateral movement and just the explosion that he has as a runner. He is just a special player. So Caleb's gonna get there. He's been great, and he had some good runs today. And DeAndre Swift helps out and everything. But Jaden Daniels is at a level where, like, he's on quarterback island, for instance. He's maybe in the MVP race. That's like the level that he's playing at.
And the whole field is in play with Jaden Daniels, and you see late stage Russell Wilson ignoring the middle of the field, right? There's really nowhere where you can count on Jaden Daniels to not have an option, especially considering the way that Terry McLaurin's playing. He caught him on the 60-plus yarder earlier in the game where, again, Tony Romo was concerned about his ribs, as Romo should be, as a guy who's played with busted ribs multiple times through his career. But he hits McLaurin there. Zach Ertz really involved in this game. He got 11 targets, 77 yards, but Terry had 125. But it's just the speed to the edge from Jaden Daniels, where you're not, the player doesn't exist, right? That's going to be in the middle of the field with Jaden Daniels watching, and then Jaden Daniels decides that he's going to take the sideline and get 5 yards. That player does not exist.
That's the part that reminds me the most of Lamar, because that's how I thought too. His rookie year is like when he goes to the edge, like you're not going to stop him. Before we move on from this incredible game and moment, Randy Chavez, our great producer. I don't know how he heard that the Portuguese call was so great, but he's like, you got to hear this Portuguese call of the play. It's pretty great, and I got to admit, it is pretty great.
Jaden Daniels, ajeita o corpo, se equilibra, busca Hail Mary lá na RedZone! Touchdown! Numa Hail Mary! Num dos finais mais absurdos de todos os tempos! Jaden Daniels, calouro!
That kind of day in Washington, one fan who said, or that's been there to every single game, said the explosion when that touchdown was caught, that was the loudest they have ever heard that stadium, shaping up to be a special season.